I'm Sister Sasha Robinson, and this is my story. So, I thought long and hard last night about whether to write this testimony down, but I'm from the old school where testimony services were live and in effect, and people got up and they came straight from the head and the heart. So here it goes. Christian women, single Christian women, we always go by that stereotype of we're looking for a Boaz. That's the big thing. I'm going to tell you what happens when you can run into a Boaz. He may be Boaz, he may not. I had been single for some years, and I had settled into the idea of being single. I was single for some time. I think for the majority of my life, I've been single since the age of 15 when I started dating. My daughter's dad was active, but he doesn't live where I live. So we co-parent fine, but it was nothing past what we had years before. Even though he was my first love, there was nothing past that. And I had settled into the idea of being single. I was on top of my business. I was taking care of my daughters by myself. And I wasn't objecting to the idea of dating, but I wasn't chasing anybody. I wasn't looking for a Boaz. And then lo and behold, one day in the church lobby, there he was. He was nothing like what I was used to. I used to like the thugs, the hood guys. Now I like them saved with a hood past. I can deal with that. But yeah, he was nothing like what I expected. And I was in that space where, like I said, while I was not looking, I was like, when he comes around, I don't want him to be like what I had before. And he was perfect. He was very charming. We were the same age. He was in church. He was raised in church just like me. I'm a preacher's daughter, and not just any preacher's daughter, fire and brimstone preaching preacher's daughter. So I was completely in love with the idea that he was saved. I always said that I didn't want to be with anybody that I had to teach why I love God and why I serve him. I wanted somebody that we were on the same page with that. I didn't want to be unequally yoked. So we started talking, we started dating, and I had been celibate for years as well. And there came a situation where, unfortunately, I fell. And we know in the word, in the book of Proverbs, it says that a righteous man falls 7 times. I didn't want to fall 6 more times. I was so disappointed in myself. I knew that, God's grace is sufficient for me, but I just couldn't believe that I had failed. So we married. Once we got married, it was like a complete Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde experience. He didn't really like the attention that I paid to my children as much. He wanted all the attention on him. And it got to the point where I was finding myself isolated. By the grace of God, I have people in my corner that love me and that weren't going to let go of me that easily, but it was almost an isolation situation. And I remember one night, it was right after the pandemic had started, right when everything was starting to shut down. I went to my bathroom. That was the only place I could get any quiet time in my house. And I just said, God, I made a mistake. I just want it to be over. And I woke up the next morning and he was packing his bags. Now, that was bittersweet, but part of me felt like I had failed some kind of way again, because I felt like, I was prayed up before I met this guy. I should be able to pray and make my marriage work. And it just didn't happen that way. But it needed to happen, because at the same time, I didn't feel like it was going in a good direction. And not to make matters worse, I got pregnant soon after the marriage. So I felt like people were laughing at me, because it's like, oh, you know how the saints think, and people in general, we know why she got married. And that wasn't the case. And because of that, I just went through a deep depression. Church was closed down. I didn't have that connection. It was on me to stay in my word, and it was on me to keep my prayer life built up, because we were live streaming church. And through all of that, I've come out stronger. I've seen a therapist to work through the things that I've gone through. I always tell people there's nothing wrong with seeing a therapist. You're not crazy, and it's not like in the movies. You don't have to have a lot of money to see a therapist. And I did seek a therapist to work through that as well. I'm saved. I'm all about prayer. But I did see my therapist, and I've gotten so much stronger since then. And this is a complete transparent moment for me to give this testimony, but I believe that somebody needs to hear it. Single ladies, you might not find your Boaz in church, but one thing you need to do is stay prayed up, because if the enemy sees you in the right track, he's going to try you. So you need to be prayed up. You need to test the spirit by the spirit and let God take control. I know the old school saints might be looking at this and thinking, how she sitting up there giving a testimony in green hair. Honey, green hair is for growth, because I grew through what the enemy sent to destroy me. That's my story.